Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Earth and Environmental Sciences Major Exploration webinar. I hope everyone here is excited to learn about the Earth and Environmental Sciences and the different major programs we have. My name is Josh Feinberg. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Studies. I'm a professor in the department, and I've been here since the very last part of 2007. So I've been here a while now, which means I know a lot about the department, and I can tell you a lot about our major programs and the opportunities that they provide. Before I get started, I just want to give you a little bit of a sense of what the plan is for today. So I'm going to first start off with a brief poll just to sort of gauge people's general interest before we even start. Then I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the department and the majors that we offer, but it's going to be a very small presentation because I think that the people you really want to hear from are our current students. They're going to give you the unvarnished truth about what it's like being either earth science majors or environmental geoscience majors in our department. And so with that, I want to start off just by giving a poll, and I'm going to launch this now. What we're trying to figure out is how serious are folks about, pursuing or at least learning more about the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences. Yeah, all right. Things are coming in right now, fast and furious. This is great. I'll share everything with you in just a moment once the numbers start evening off a little bit. Very good. Oh man, we're getting some excellent participation ratios here. We're at 90% participation. All right. So right now, most everybody is coming in at not sure. That's at 47%. 11% of you are ready to commit right away, which is amazing. Thank you. Some of you are interested, and some of you already pretty much know that this maybe is not for you. Maybe we can sway a few minds and get you into the not sure category by the end. All right, I'll share results really quick there, just so everybody has a chance to see. The next thing I'm going to do is share my screen with everyone and talk a little bit about the programs in our department. So this is just a quick photograph. I have a couple of images that I want to share. One of the great things about our department is that there's a really great even split in a lot of ways between working inside, doing sort of world-class laboratory work to try and understand natural processes and the effects that human activities have on them. So we're doing lab measurements, we're doing computer modeling, dynamic modeling, remote sensing, but then we also have a fair amount of field work where we're actually outside making original observations about our world and trying to make sense of the landscapes all around us. One of the great things about our undergraduate program is we have a group called the Geo Club, which is all of our undergraduate majors. And every spring they go out and they usually travel to some part of the world to see aspects of earth science and environmental geoscience that we don't necessarily have here in Minnesota. So for example, we don't have active volcanoes. We don't have playa deserts or anything like that. This photo is an example of one of our undergraduate club's trips. This was to Argentina way back in 2016. In 2018, I took a bunch of students out to Colorado. This is a photograph from Rocky Mountain National Park. For those of you with great visual acuity, our students are right there in that little yellow circle. So we go to some great places, but I really want to stress that it's not all about being outside. That's a nice side perk. A lot of what we also do is inside, using a variety of instrumentations and computer modeling. So what is earth and environmental science? It's a really broad thing. It's the study of our planet, its surface, its atmosphere and oceans, and also it's our neighbors in space. So other planets, moons, meteorites, other solar systems. Right now, I think many of you are aware that the scientific issue of our time is global climate change. It's happening incredibly fast. I mean, this really nice 75-degree day in late October is maybe an example of that to a certain extent. So if this is something that is important to you and you want to contribute to understanding our world and perhaps improving the environment and improving the world that we live in, and you want to use chemistry and biology and physics and math and computer science to figure it out, then maybe this Earth Sciences program might be for you. So our students use their expertise to go on to try and understand how the Earth can provide food, water, and energy for all of our growing communities. We need to develop sustainable energy sources. We need to be able to find mineral resources that help us sort of live the kinds of technological lives that we're all accustomed to now, and hopefully expand the use of green technologies. We need to study how humans impact the Earth's environment and our climate, and design ways to actually protect these things. We need to help plan communities that can protect people from all kinds of natural hazards as well, things like hurricanes, landslides, earthquakes, and volcanoes. These are all under the larger umbrella of environmental geosciences and earth sciences. If any of you have had longstanding interests in fossils and volcanoes, tectonics, the way that water moves in streams as well as in the ground, in minerals, rocks, all these things, all of this is part of earth science. And one of the things I want to give all of you is a sort of general context for our department. We used to be the Department of Geology, and earth sciences now is sort of an outgrowth of that, but has expanded to include all kinds of other aspects. It's not just geology anymore. It's a lot of environmental sciences now too. And so most of our recent faculty hires have been doing their research at the very Earth's surface. And so we consider them environmental scientists of some sort. But much of our focus now as a community is really trying to understand how Earth systems work, how they evolve to their current state, and how they're always changing, especially in relation to human activity. So where do our students go on to find work? Because of COVID, things are a little bit funny in terms of our statistics right now. So these are statistics from 2019, but they haven't really changed that much. 90% of our graduating majors who are not going directly into graduate school were hired by geoscience companies, state and federal agencies, and nonprofit organizations. And this funny circular diagram here is a little bit busy, but bear with me for just a second. If you look at the gray side on the right, these are sort of destinations where people could end up with a degree. If you look at all of the colors on the left, these are all the areas of interest that people may have to start with. So if you're interested in seismology and such, you can go potentially to oil and gas to do prospecting. If you're interested in geochemistry, there's all different kinds of places you can go, including environmental services, paleontology, all kinds of different things here. And the main purpose of this graphic is to suggest that Earth and environmental sciences is not one monolithic thing, but it's many different kinds of subdisciplines that are used to try and understand natural systems. And no matter what kinds of interests you may have, there are often public, private, and nonprofit firms out there that are excited about hiring geoscientists. So graduates with a geoscience degree that just have a bachelor's, this is a national survey that tried to track where geoscience majors went after they had their bachelor's degree earned. Many of them went into the environmental services world. So these are hydrogeology firms, environmental remediation companies, people doing stream restoration, that kind of thing. A large percentage of them went into the federal government. Some of them went to four-year universities to continue working in academia, construction, mining, research, local government, K-12 education. All of these things are places where students with geoscience degrees often head to. There is a pressing need for professional geoscientists. Our department just held its career fair last week. We had all different kinds of firms and agencies and nonprofits there. And one of the things that they all mentioned is that they are all experiencing this tidal wave of retirements right now, that they're all very much in need of new people coming in to their firms, companies, and organizations to help continue the really important work that they need to do. And these are well-paying jobs that provide a lot of security. This was predicted many years ago. This is a graph from 2014, and we're living this right now. The honest truth of the situation here is that there are far more jobs for geoscientists than there are geoscientists being produced. So if job security is important to you as you're considering your major, please do keep this in mind. So a little bit more about our school. We actually are part of the Newton Horace Winchell School of Earth and Environmental Sciences. And the department itself, the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences, is one part of that larger school. Other organizations that are also part of that school include the Minnesota Geological Survey, the Limnological Research Center, or LACCOR, the Institute for Rock Magnetism, the Polar Geospatial Center, and then there's also very close ties with St. Anthony's Falls, right along the Mississippi River, where we do a lot of cross-disciplinary research, in particular with civil engineers. We now have 6 different undergraduate programs. We have a BS in Earth Sciences and a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Geosciences. Those are going to be the ones that are most relevant to most of you in the audience tonight who are in CSE. We also offer a Bachelor's of Arts through CLA. And then we also administer minors as well in both in Earth Sciences and Environmental Geosciences. And those are administered through the College of Liberal Arts. Our department was ranked in the top 10 for the entire country very recently in terms of its undergraduate program. This is kind of exciting for us. This includes all the liberal arts colleges, as well as public schools, as well as private universities. This is kind of a nice thing to recognize. We are one of the smaller departments within CSE, but we're one of the best departments in the country. So it's kind of a nice little thing to keep in mind. Some of you may be a little bit curious about what differentiates environmental geoscience from earth science. And the way I want to try and sort of describe that is earth sciences are incredibly broad. They include everything from the very core of our planet through the Earth's mantle, its crust, all of the tectonics that are happening, connections with the atmosphere into outer space and beyond. It's enormous. Environmental geosciences is much more narrow. It looks at the envelope of our planet where people inhabit and where we use resources. So this includes soils, this includes rivers and lakes and the atmosphere, the oceans, and it tries to understand how natural systems are actually being perturbed by human activity. And so if you really want to take that focus on how humans are interacting with the environment, environmental geoscience is probably the degree for you. So we're preparing students here to be leaders in disciplines like hydrogeology and water quality, soils, mineral resources, environmental remediation, pollution prevention, and climate change. That's our goal. So this new program, relatively new program now, was designed after consulting with all different kinds of organizations on campus and off campus to try and identify those courses that are most important for our students to be able to graduate with, to make them the most competitive they possibly can be for the workforce afterwards, as well as for graduate school. So how are our programs designed? This is our core Earth Sciences program right here. The prerequisites are Calc 1 and 2, Chem 1 and 2, and Phys 1 and 2. The BS program for Earth Sciences also requires one additional math course, either linear algebra or multivariable calculus, your choice. And then this is just sort of a sample four-year kind of plan where certain courses, because of our department size, are only offered in either the fall or the spring semester. So those are listed here and when you might actually take them. And one of the things I'd like to draw everybody's attention to are those summer field courses that are actually listed in your sophomore summer year and junior summer year. These are required courses for all of our majors to take. And we design them in such a way so that they can all be taken in one summer. You do not need to spread them out over 2 summers, as this chart would suggest. But they're really incredible courses that sort of require our students to take all of the knowledge that they're learning in a classroom and actually start to try to apply it themselves outside, which is really kind of incredible. For the introductory field course, we, during non-COVID times, tend to throw all of our students into a bunch of vans and drive them out to southwestern Montana. And we actually teach you how to map the rocks under your feet, how to actually map rock folds and faults, to make cross sections that allow you to predict where you're going to find things at depth. It's a really fun course to teach. It's one of my favorites for sure. And then you have to choose one of 2 different advanced field courses as well. There's our hydrogeology field course. Students get to actually see a water well being drilled. You get to do pump tests to figure out how quickly groundwater moves and how quickly it can be extracted, how that affects nearby wells also when you are pumping hard on a well. If you're interested in doing environmental work, this is a really fantastic field course to take. There's also another course to potentially choose from called Advanced Field Geology. That tends to look much more at really old rocks that are emplaced up in northern Minnesota. These are magmatic intrusions, some of which were erupted as lava flows, others were just sort of emplaced in the subsurface and then cooled into hard solidified rock. And these are the things that we're currently considering mining right now for copper up in northern Minnesota. Kind of a cool camp as well to choose. Some of our students may have really unique interests, and so they'll take a field course at another institution. So if you're interested in volcanoes, for example, you can go to the University of Hawaii and actually study actively erupting volcanoes. That's an option too. So this is our program for the earth sciences. For the environmental geosciences, it's a little bit different. The prerequisites are quite different. You only need to take Calc 1, Chemistry 1, and Phys 1, as well as one statistics course. There is one additional math course that you might need to take as well for this particular major as well in CSE. There's a lot more required courses here in the environmental geosciences major, but these were all identified as being particularly important by potential employers, which is why they're all here. So if you're looking for a little bit more flexibility, the earth sciences major may be for you, but if you're looking to make sure that you get all those core courses that were identified by potential employers, this particular major may be more your speed. So that's a description of our department, our degree programs, a little bit about the structure of our courses as well. This is an example of one of our field trips. A lot of our courses have, weekend field trips or afternoon field trips as part of them. This was one for geomorphology, I believe, a couple of years ago. So with that, what I'd like to try and do now is try and introduce a student panel, if that's possible. So if I could have all of those students who are part of the panel turn on their cameras, that would be great. Thank you, everybody. Excellent. All right.
For some reason, hey, Josh, I can't turn my camera on. It says I'm not allowed to.
Okay, maybe Ray can help. There you go.
Oh,
all right.
there we go. Sweet.
There it is. And so for the audience that's here, one of the things that I think would make this most useful for you is if you have questions that you want to ask our current students about in terms of their experiences and what the major has meant for them and what life is like in our department, by all means, go ahead and ask in the chat. I'll try and moderate those and give those to the students. I have a bunch of questions I'm planning on asking the students so they can start talking. But I really do hope that you'll make the most of this experience and ask the kinds of questions that you would ask if we were all in person, because that's the only way you're going to be able to make an informed choice. So for the first question, this is just a real easy one for everybody. Can you all introduce yourselves and just describe a little bit about how you came to decide to be either an earth sciences or an environmental geosciences major? Oop, go ahead, Alice.
I can start us off. So my name is Rachel. I was drawn to geosciences. Originally, I was in earth sciences, then switched based off of my interests for my career path. I was particularly attracted to the fact that I think you can use this major to take your interest in chemistry and physics and apply it to the natural world. So you can really tailor it to your interests and then see how that would play out in your career path, whether that be through, the academic route or the professional route. You have a lot of flexibility, and it was very helpful for my decision-making.
Yeah, I'm Allison. I'm also majoring in environmental geosciences, and I kind of had a similar train of thought when I was deciding this major. I was originally doing earth sciences, but then I kind of changed my mind because I just kind of like the idea of working more with like the human aspect of things and like current issues that are happening right now, and working with like environmental services in the future, especially. I always knew that I really loved geology ever since I was a kid. So for me, this was like a great way to incorporate all of my interests together.
I was drawn to, well, I'm Gus. I'm a fourth year earth science major. I was drawn to geology because of how tactile it is. It felt very real and applicable. I came into the U as a chemistry major, and pretty quickly realized that it was a little too abstract for me. And earth science was a good way to apply the concepts of physics and chemistry, as Rachel said, to something a little more, something I could wrap my head around a little easier.
Hi, my name is Raina, and I'm in the environmental geoscience major. And I came in originally doing environmental engineering. And so kind of switched all my departments with the help of Josh. And I really gravitated towards this major just because of what people have said previously. I really liked the field aspect of this major. It's one thing to learn about things in a classroom, but to actually see them in person, actually study them and touch all the different rocks and samples is kind of how I learn best. So I really gravitated towards that, as well as the aspect of sustainability and that kind of stuff as well.
Hi, I'm Marjorie. I'm a fourth year environmental geoscience major, and I originally came in doing physics, and then I ended up taking mineralogy actually with Josh, and I kind of started to look more into the earth and environmental sciences department and saw kind of the growing job market and decided to move into environmental geoscience.
Hi, I'm Kaylin. I'm a junior in the BA of Environmental Geosciences. And I originally wasn't planning on doing anything with like earth science or geosciences, but I did PSEO here for one of my electives. I did an earth science class and I instantly was hooked on it. I learned about the major through that class, and I scheduled a meeting with Josh for my freshman year then and talked to him about it and really kind of instantly fell in love with it. And I really suggest, even if you're not interested in earth sciences, at least taking some intro level course, because like for me, I never knew, and you guys never know either.
It's a great point. This is something that I routinely hear when I'm talking to students, is that they come into the University of Minnesota and they had no idea that earth and environmental geosciences was even a viable career path or even a department, frankly, until they were looking around at the various course options that were out there. And they took a class and kind of realized that, oh my God, this is actually this resonates with me. And so a lot of our student majors discover and declare late in their sophomore year, and that's okay. Our courses are set up so that you can actually have that flexibility to pull off that kind of decision making. We have a number of questions that have come in the Q&A. If they're detailed ones, I may just type in answers. I hope that's okay. But some of them are really great, and I wanted to try and bring them up now. One of the first ones, and maybe Raina can speak in a little bit more detail to this one. Why did you choose geosciences over other majors, maybe things like bioproducts and biosystems engineering or environmental engineering in CEGE?
Yes, so I can totally speak on this because that's I came in thinking kind of this track of engineering was for me, whereas once I actually started getting into the major classes for environmental engineering, I realized it didn't necessarily present itself what I originally thought going in. It was a lot, at least environmental engineering, what I was taking, it was a lot of sewage management and kind of wastewater management. And I didn't realize the extent of the emphasis on that within the major. And I kind of started to explore other routes of, I really want to be out in a lab and I want to be outside all the time. And I really like kind of something with helping the environment, and climate change is a big thing obviously right now. So I realized that this path could give me a more tactile kind of major, and also was just more of what I actually wanted to do. And I think coming into college, you often think that one major is one thing, but then when you actually start taking the classes and stuff, you realize that there's other options for that. And switching my major was one of the best decisions that I've made. So.
I did not tell her to say that, just as an aside. Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to contribute towards that question at all?
Yeah, I've got something to say. So if you are interested in the more engineering aspects, like the mechanics and the structures and the physics and the math, that opportunity exists in this department as well. There's a lot of courses dedicated to maybe the more technical side, like the hard science side of things. You could take structural geology, you have to take mineralogy. There's courses focusing on metamorphism. There's a whole lot of options for sort of the more hard science side of things as well.
Most of our courses are hard science courses. Yeah, it's true. Anybody else? Should we move on to the next one there?
I would just quickly add that the Earth Sciences department really shines in the field of research. I think maybe more so than engineering, my understanding is that Earth Science is really good at involving undergraduates in hands-on problem solving that they could eventually translate either to a master's degree or the professional side of things. I myself have been involved in a lot of different research projects that I think are unique to the Earth Sciences program, so that's another appeal.
Yeah, this is one of these questions that I was really hoping to actually bring up and ask a lot of you about that are on the panel right now. You're totally right. So student research is incredibly important to us at all levels, not just the undergraduate level, but also the graduate students and the postdocs that are in our department as well. And everybody, works across sort of levels as well to be teaching each other. As far as undergraduate research goes, we really try and create opportunities for any student to actually get a research experience of some kind during the time that they're with us in the department. And there's a variety of ways that can actually take form. It can be volunteering for a research group and helping out in all kinds of myriad ways. It can be more focused, where you can actually take directed studies with a professor and actually become a member of their research group for a little while and have a project that you are in charge of also. You can get credit for doing that research. We also have a number of internships that are available too. Sometimes, as part of our grants, we actually have funding to pay a student to be a research helper of some kind, or internships with companies in the area too. So with that general context, do any of you want to talk about some of the research experiences that you've had in the department?
I could start us off here. I think something that a lot of people who are interested in this major might have in common is the idea that you want to have a positive effect kind of on the natural world. And some really exciting projects that I got to be a part of were taking fungi and kind of plugging them in to an experiment where there was heavy metal contamination or hydrocarbon contamination. And what we found is that these, biologic components could actually eat up this contamination. And moving forward, we might be able to apply that thing in the field of consulting. And left and right, you'll see this really quick fix for something that is a huge problem, from different types of oil industry, mining industry contamination. So yeah, if you want to make the world a better place, there are a lot of ways where you can kind of see that happen in front of you, which is unique and exciting.
I can say a bit about my research as well. I actually have the unique opportunity to work with faculty members here, as well as staff members at the Minnesota Geological Survey and the Minnesota Department of Health. So right now I'm kind of combining these three organizations and working on studying and mapping nitrate contamination in southeastern Minnesota and how that relates to glacial till cover and bedrock geology. And the overall goal is to make some sort of deliverable map that can allow planners, local governments, state governments, and even individual landowners to get a sense of the sort of potential dangers that are in their own drinking water.
Anybody else want to say anything about research? One of the the questions asked about UROPs as well. For those of you who maybe haven't heard of this program, this is the Undergraduate Research Opportunity Program, UROP. And it's a student-driven proposal where you write a very small proposal. It's usually around 2 to 3 pages tops, in conjunction with one of the professors in the department, that describes a particular research project that you would like to work on for a semester. It's great because there's funding in there for you, for your time, as well as a small amount of funding for consumables to run experiments, to do whatever you need to do. And it's really a great experience. You share the results of your science, usually at a science symposium at the end of that semester. The hardest thing about doing one of those UROPs is that you have to work up the nerve to knock on somebody's door or write an email and have a Zoom conversation with a faculty. And initially that can be a very intimidating thing. But one of the things you may have noticed is that all of the students on this panel, for example, are just referring to me by my first name. And that's not unusual in my department at all. It's a very informal environment where people tend to refer to one another on a first name basis. It's very rare that I ask anybody to refer to me as Professor Feinberg. That feels really foreign. And that's meant to try and describe the culture that we all have here of wanting to learn and work together. A somewhat equitable footing here. So reaching out to professors or to other graduate students or postdocs to see if they're interested in having you be a part of their research is probably, admittedly initially scary, but usually people get over it really quick in the department. And then the undergraduates become a pretty integral part of a lot of our research. Does anybody else want to add anything to that, either the research or the general culture of the department?
I guess I could speak on the general culture. So since I was in a different department, I kind of experienced kind of this switch. And I can say that once I switched, I felt immediately so welcomed by everybody within the major. And I ended up switching majors like 2 weeks into my fall semester last year. And so I was playing a bit of catch up, and everyone in my classes was super helpful, and they were like, if you want to meet, I can help you with some of the content we've been going over. Same with the professors, and a lot of people met with me in the first couple weeks that I switched over to just have a fun conversation about why I switched and a bit about the department. And Geo Club is a great way to also get involved. I was just newly elected to be president of that, and I'm super excited about it. Woo. And we're actually going to be planning our first meeting sometime soon. So that's also a really great way to meet students in the department and get information about things going on. And we have a lot of different events to, get information out there and also have fun. So.
The Geo Club also has their own little hangout spot. Kaylin is there right now.
That's what I thought.
In the basement floor of Tate. It's got a little kitchenette, fridge, coffee maker, big table and big whiteboards. It's a great place to just go take a breather for a little while, work on some homework, do a meeting, vote in the pumpkin bracket, anything else.
There's also a big bank of lockers in there too, so you don't have to lug books and stuff around all the time. You can just claim one of the lockers as your own and stow stuff in there as needed, which is kind of nice. Folks like me are not allowed in there. It's just for you. So there is that. We have a few other questions that have sort of lingered in the Q&A that I want to try and address. As the years have passed, have you noticed that more and more people are starting to be interested in these majors? And the answer to that is yes. One of the really exciting things is that the numbers of majors in our department have really been pretty consistently climbing, which is kind of nice. We're actually one of the only geoscience departments in the country that is actually growing in terms of its student sizes right now, which is kind of good. And it tells you a little bit about the vitality of our department in general and the sort of, the ethos that we're trying to cultivate here as we work and learn with our students. But it also speaks to the fact that there are just a ton of jobs available right now too, in a variety of fields, not just in the environmental consulting world, in mineral exploration, in public policy. I want to talk a little bit more about public policy in a moment. There's a need for researchers and graduate programs. There's a need at state and federal agencies for geoscientists. There's all kinds of ways that geoscientists are going to be needed in the future. And so yes, is the short answer. We are seeing an increased amount of interest in these majors, which is wonderful. Question for all of you all. So many of you are juniors right now. What careers are you all planning on pursuing, if you have one in mind? Or if you're debating things right now and debating futures, what are your various paths that you're choosing between?
I know for me, I'm currently deciding between environmental consulting and hydrogeology. Those are two fields that I'm really interested in. Hydrogeology uses a lot of GIS software, geographic information systems, if that's something any of you are interested in. And earth sciences in general incorporates that a lot. And I think that's a great way to incorporate both of those interests if you also have an interest in like public works and like, you know, working with a community rather than doing like academic research. Yeah.
For me, I have had a particular interest in hydrogeology. So in my career, I'm going to kind of take it in the direction of water resources. So I'm looking into some consulting jobs because, you know, they have that environmental remediation and controlling aspect. But I'm very much going to be looking towards anything where I can do like clean water resources.
I know I'm kind of debating some, but the two main ones I'm debating are geochemistry with like meteorites in grad school. I'm for sure planning to go to grad school. I should probably mention that. Or planetary geology within grad school, which I noticed a few people asking questions about that. And so I'm planning some sort of like planetary, like outer space. So I do know even with I'm doing environmental geoscience, you do get a good amount of knowledge in regards to that field as well. Not just in the earth sciences, but in the geoscience one too.
Anybody else have anything they want to chime in on? Or you're
Sure.
still go for it, Gus.
Yeah, I too am interested in hydrogeology. There's a lot of hydro people here. And particularly I'm interested in aquifers and groundwater management. And hopefully I can use that to work for a state or even local government agency, something on the lines of a pollution control agency or an environmental protection agency. I also have lingering thoughts on grad school and academia.
Lingering, huh?
Yes,
all right.
I'm sure.
We'll talk more about that later. Excellent. Anything else that folks want to add? I will quickly add that in addition to the career fair that I just mentioned that happened last week, in the springtime, normally we also run career panels. Sometimes they'll be thematic, where we'll invite people to help educate our students about like, what about a life in museums like the Smithsonian or the Natural History Museum or the Field Museum in Chicago? Like, what are careers like that like? And, you know, what kinds of paths can you take in order to get there? Other times we'll have, you know, panels about academia. There's all kinds of ways that we try and provide our students with information to help them choose the path that is best for them at the time. A lot of our students, when they graduate, they're feeling a little bit burnt out about school and they just want some real life experience for a little while. And I totally get that. That's what I did myself. But I got to tell you, the majority of them after a few years come back and then they want to get an advanced degree so that they can accelerate their career paths a little bit more. So a master's program is often what they go back for. The majority of our students do go into work for, you know, a firm or a nonprofit or a public agency. There's about 30 to 35% that go directly into graduate school right off the bat. All right, some other questions. There's one down here. Can we explain a little bit more about what Geo Club is? Yes, we can. So this is the undergraduate group for all earth and environmental geoscience majors within the department. It's a group that is meant to serve a bunch of different purposes. One, it's social. So these kinds of groups that you participate in within your departments, wherever you end up getting your major, they tend to be the people that make up your professional network after you graduate as well, which I cannot overstate the importance of. So for the people that are graduating a year or two ahead of you, they're going to be the ones that give you the down low on like, hey, there's a job opening at my company. You should really send in your resume. They're going to be the ones that give you that kind of information. And you'll be doing the same thing for them after you graduate for the younger students, which is really, really important. Even though I went to college a million years ago, I am still in contact with people that I was friends with when I was in college, and we still do projects and professional activities together as well. So the students that you are a part of, your cohort, they're going to be around for quite a while in your lives, whether you realize it or not, and they're going to be important to you. So that's one aspect of what Geo Club is. There's all kinds of activities that are meant to expose you to geology and earth science in general that may not necessarily be here in Minnesota. And these can be field trips that take place throughout the academic year, or they can be the big spring field trips that I sort of alluded to at the very beginning as well. It's been a real bummer having this like global pandemic thing, because it's really cut into our field work in a pretty massive way. And so we're really kind of hoping that we're going to be able to start incorporating that kind of activity again into our lives. I think all of us really enjoy being outside. There's a certain amount of fundraising that happens too through the Geo Club. There are professional development things that go on through the Geo Club too. There are professional organizations within the region. For example, the American Institute of Professional Geologists, AIPG, has regular monthly luncheons. And so the Geo Club will sometimes go to those. They help sponsor scholarships within the department for attending conferences and for going to field courses as well. And they're just sort of an all-around support group in general too. One of the things that I keep on trying to persuade students to do when they're trying to decide what courses to take the next semester is to go talk to people who are just a year ahead of them and say like, hey, I'm trying to decide between this course and this other one taught by Feinberg. And you can like get the suggestion that like, oh my God, whatever you do, don't take the course taught by Feinberg. He's terrible. And you can get the student eye perspective from the Geo Club folks, which is really important. Am I leaving anything out, folks? That's pretty much it. All right. Other questions here from the network. Does the Earth Science and Environmental Geoscience Department have a lot of job opportunities in renewable energy and energy efficiency type of work? This is not an area of active research by most of our faculty, but we do have connections within the department for this kind of work. There are a bunch of companies that are tackling this within the Twin Cities area right now. One of them was actually at the career fair this last week that are trying to increase the amount of solar energy capture within the Twin Cities and actually try and tackle an environmental justice issue in Northeast Minneapolis as well, to try and dissipate an urban heat island that disproportionately affects people of color in the Northeast. So there are those kinds of activities through our department, but it is not a major research focus, unfortunately. We have had a couple of undergraduate students over the last 5 years get professional internships at geothermal companies, which is kind of cool as well. So those are like summer jobs that our students have gone on to do. One of whom actually went on and is now working full-time for that geothermal company. One of our relatively recent graduate students also started a geothermal energy company in Minnesota. His name is Jimmy Randolph, and he's doing amazing things right now, sort of spreading the good word about geothermal energy across the state and the upper Midwest. If you switched majors, would you be set back as far as graduation goes due to all the course requirements or when certain classes are offered? And the short answer to that, I'd say, is in most cases, no. All the students on the panel kind of know our courses are pretty flat in terms of the overall curriculum. We don't have a ton of earth science prerequisites for higher level classes. So once you take mineralogy and solid earth dynamics, you're pretty much good to go for all of those other classes. And so you don't need to like wait a whole year to take, a whole lot of other classes, which is pretty great. So as soon as you get those 2000 level courses done, and you're going to find yourself mixed up with sophomores, juniors, seniors in all of your classes at various sort of states, which is great. That's the way it's supposed to be. And so the idea is that senior students can maybe help the junior students a little bit more. That's the mentality anyways. But so no, that should not slow you down too much. All right, excellent. If you don't live in Minnesota, what are the options for taking summer courses? We have many of our students are not from Minnesota. I'd say about half of our students are probably not from Minnesota, and that's okay. We love them anyways. Most of them still continue to take the summer field courses with us. All of these summer field courses are residential, meaning no matter where you live during the fall and spring semester, we physically pick you up and take you to either Southwest Montana for the introductory field course, or we take you up to northern Minnesota for both the hydrogeology field course as well as the advanced field course, depending on which one you choose. So no matter where your home is, everybody's sort of in the same boat together during those summer courses. So I hope that helps that. If there are more questions, please do keep them coming. These are great. It's really good to hear about the questions that you are interested in. A question for all of you all on the panel. If you can remember years ago, sitting in the audience, maybe in person or maybe virtually, in this same kind of situation, what advice do you think would have been the most helpful thing for you to have heard then that the folks here might want to hear from you?
I can go. I'm not sure how helpful this would be for other people, but I know for me, like you don't need to know specifically what you want to do with earth science or environmental geoscience right away. I more came into the major like, I want to help the earth, like let's see what I can do. And then you take such a wide variety of courses in all the like earth science, environmental geoscience majors that you kind of like figure out like your intended career path as you go. Like even now is like, I know a couple of us have said like, especially the juniors, we're still debating between one or two things, like taking more classes to learn more as we go. So you don't have to come into this major like, I'm going to do hydrology, I'm going to do planetary. You get to like learn as you go about all these different like aspects of the careers.
My advice would be to just give it a shot. There's a lot of 1000 level courses offered in the department. There's oceanography, natural disasters, earth and its environments. There's a caves course. There's a couple different freshman seminar courses. And all of those are really fantastic classes. So if you're at all interested, I would say take one of them. They're really interesting. I think they're really well taught. You'll meet good faculty members and fellow students. And if you need any more convincing, I think all of them count for at least one liberal education requirement. So that's an easy way to kind of guarantee you'll get at least something out of
it. One thing that I think would have been nice for me to hear around the time that I was trying to pick a major is that you've already done a lot of heavy lifting, and this is a department that is going to have the support to, you know, get you to the success that you want. So I think reaching out to people, talking to people is something that I really could have taken to heart. Because that communication and community is something that like you've earned at this point, and it'll propel you forward as you continue. And you can definitely find that in this major.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say basically the same thing. Like, don't be afraid to talk to the people older than you just because you think like you don't know as much or anything. Like you could literally like tap on the glass outside of the Geo Lounge in the basement of Tate. And like, I'm sure somebody would answer and like answer any questions you have. Like, I don't know. I think our major in our department is like much more of a community and much more about helping people than I think some other like departments can be. Like, not to put anybody else down, I think we just are less competitive and we're more collaborative in that way. And I think all of the students in our department like to help each other up. So just don't be afraid to like ask questions and don't be afraid to talk to your professors because they're all like really great people. Don't, you know, have that stereotype of like the scary college professor, because that's not the reality in this department or most departments for that matter.
I guess I would
go ahead.
I would probably piggyback off of Allison and Rachel. The U can sometimes seem really, really big. and it can be kind of intimidating coming in and trying to make some decisions and stuff like that. But our department is really, like they said, a community, and I feel like every professor that I've had has been really supportive and understanding, especially during this Zoom university time. Everyone knows that this is not a conventional really way that we're used to, and everyone has been so supportive and really creative in ways to make sure that, you know, checking in with us to make sure what they're doing is actually working. And everyone is great about taking feedback as well. And so just initiating that communication can be scary at first, but like they said, if you want to talk to any of us, or if you want to contact me, I would be happy to meet with any of you or come to a Geo Club meeting once we get those up and about. And I think it's a great place to meet your peers, and the department does a lot to help you find research, jobs, opportunities. The career fair was a great opportunity for me, and I think for other people here as well. So really just kind of stick your foot out and start talking to people, and you'll find a really great place here.
Thanks, everybody. I guess there are two other sort of quick comments I wanted to make that sort of build off some of the comments that were just said. You know, we've talked a lot about how undergraduates are trying to find their own path while they're part of our department, and that we're trying to give students the space to do that. One of the best examples sort of circles back around to research experiences again on this. You're never going to have the opportunities that you do now as undergraduates, no matter what your ultimate major is, to be able to taste different styles of research in different research groups at a world-class university. And so something that I constantly am suggesting to students is usually when they start their first research experience in the department, they're like, yes, I'm in, this is great. I'm gonna do a great job and I'm gonna try and really contribute. And I, you know, get all paternal really quick and start wagging my finger and say, whoa, 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 you know, do a good job. That's great. That's all good. But you may want to consider, you know, trying out another lab as well, just to make sure that, you know, you're really feeling the research here on that particular theme. And it's advice that I'd want to give to everybody here too. Take advantage of this incredible time in your lives where you can really try a number of different disciplines and see what resonates with you, see what you get really excited about. That excitement will carry you far. The other thing I just wanted to really quickly mention also is I've been saying repeatedly, work and learn with each other. The other thing that's been part of all of our lives these last year and a half was the murder of George Floyd, and bringing the idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion into our lives in a real, genuine, meaningful way, and not just giving it lip service. And I have to say that I've probably learned more from the discussions that I've had with my undergraduate students and my graduate students than I have from my fellow faculty with respect to how to see the world right now and the various challenges that certain segments of our society have. So when I say that I'm working and learning with my students, I really mean it. And I don't think I'm the only faculty that feels that way in this department. And I'm sure that other departments are feeling similarly too, but the geosciences have a very unique relationship with issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion that we're trying to come to terms with still. Much of our university is on historic lands. Much of our earlier geologic mapping was used as a tool to dispossess people of their land. We're coming to terms with all of these issues now. One of the ways that we're actively coming to terms with this and actually trying to meaningfully do something about it is for our technical electives for our majors. We are now allowing certain American Indian Studies courses to count as technical electives because we feel that it is so important for our students to understand that historical context. So I bring that up there. Are there any other questions or any other thoughts from you all in the audience that you want to ask? Now's a great time. And you don't have to stand up in a giant auditorium full of people to ask it, which is great. Otherwise, any other sort of parting comments from the panelists? Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to make two little comments. The first one is if you are interested in GeoClub or being on that mailing list, I did put my email in one of the answered questions in the Q&A, but if you can't find that, feel free to send me an email at friel033@umn.edu. I'll write it on the board really quick in a second, and I can get you onto that mailing list. And then also, if you're still not convinced about joining this major, look up what different minerals look like in a microscope, and you'll want to do it. I can promise you, because it was like probably one of my favorite things. Like that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, that was like the best thing ever. Like it was so cool, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but Josh's mineralogy class is super cool, and definitely look that up.
Again, I did not tell them to say that. Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments from all of you guys on the panel?
Yeah, I've got one more thing. I know this was briefly touched on earlier, but it's a very small department. I think I'm going to graduate with, I think about 20 people total in my class, and I know all of them. It's really tight knit, and I feel like I know pretty much every faculty member in the department as well. And I know a good number of graduate students as well. I didn't have to try that hard to get to know everybody, it's really nice. It's very interpersonal, and you make a lot of connections.
Thanks. Yeah, there are about just over 100 undergraduates in our program in total right now at various stages of their undergraduate career. And we're trying to raise that to around 150. And after that, we're just going to start running out of space in the building. So we got to be careful. But that's kind of our target right now. And that still won't solve our sort of employment disparity issue either. There's always going to be more jobs than there are people graduating. All right, everybody, we're creeping up on 5 o'clock here. So I think this has been good. I think you've heard primarily from the students, which is great. That's the way it should be. If you ever have any questions about the major, please reach out to me. My email is my last name in lowercase letters, FEINBERG@umn.edu. Because I'm the director of undergraduate studies, I probably have the fastest answers that anybody could give you in the department about our programs. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I have office hours every Thursday from 10 to noon. You're more than willing to come and stop by my office then, or we can meet virtually that way too, if that'd be useful to you. The most important thing is just for you to stop by and try and learn a little bit more about the major if you can. Thanks everybody for being here. Good luck in your decisions about your major. This is, the best department in the university, so take it as you will. All right, everybody. Have a great night, and I hope to see y'all later.